Ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about something fundamentally important. Language, particularly the language of men when they desire a woman. Now, men don't communicate attraction the same way women do. They aren't as direct, nor are they as overtly expressive. Instead, they speak in terms that imply meaning rather than explicitly stating it. And this, of course, can be incredibly confusing. So if you're trying to understand what a man really means when he says something, you need to read between the lines. Men communicate through implication rather than explicit statements, especially when it comes to attraction and relationships. This is not an accident, nor is it a flaw in their communication style. It is a fundamental part of male psychology, shaped by both evolutionary pressures and social conditioning. Unlike women, who often articulate emotions in more direct and verbal ways, one of the key reasons for this difference lies in the way men have historically had to navigate social and romantic interactions. Throughout human history, direct expressions of emotion, particularly vulnerability, have been risky for men. A man who openly expresses attraction or attachment exposes himself to rejection, which, from an evolutionary standpoint, could mean expulsion from the group or a decrease in social status. Instead, men have learned to communicate interest in ways that provide plausible deniability, ways that allow them to gauge a woman's interest without overtly risking social embarrassment. This is why many men will phrase things in a way that allows for multiple interpretations. They might say something that sounds neutral, but contains an undercurrent of attraction. Consider a man who says, "You have a really interesting perspective on things." At face value, this is simply an observation, but beneath the surface, it suggests admiration, engagement, and even attraction. The key is that it gives the recipient the chance to either engage with the underlying sentiment or dismiss it as a simple conversational remark. This indirect style of communication is also rooted in the way men are socialized from a young age. Boys are often discouraged from openly discussing their emotions, leading them to develop alternative methods of expressing feelings. Humor, teasing, and subtle remarks become tools for conveying deeper emotions without outright stating them. In contrast, women are generally more encouraged to verbalize their thoughts and emotions, which is why they tend to be more comfortable with direct expressions of attraction or affection. When a man is truly interested in someone, his words will often contain layers of meaning. He might not say, "I want to be with you," but he will say things that hint at that desire. He might talk about his future and casually include the other person in it. Phrases like, "We should go there sometime," or "You'd love this book I'm reading." These are not just throwaway comments, they are invitations, subconscious signals that he sees the person as part of his future. Another important element of male communication is that it is often action-oriented. A man who desires someone will not only say things that indicate attraction, but will reinforce those words through behavior. If his words are not followed by consistent actions, then those words are meaningless. A man who says, "I really enjoy spending time with you," but does not actively make time for the person, is not truly invested. Conversely, a man who might struggle to articulate emotions clearly but consistently shows up, listens, remembers details, and makes an effort is communicating attraction through action rather than words. This is where many misunderstandings arise in male-female communication. Women, who are generally more verbal in their emotional expression, may expect a man to communicate attraction in the same way they would. When he does not explicitly say how he feels, they might interpret it as a lack of interest. In reality, the signals are often there, just presented in a different form. Recognizing and understanding these forms is crucial to accurately interpreting male communication. Attraction is not only about what is said, but also about how it is said. Tone, body language, and context play significant roles in revealing intent. A simple phrase like, "That's really impressive," can mean vastly different things depending on how it is delivered. If said with genuine enthusiasm and eye contact, it is likely a signal of admiration. If said in a neutral or dismissive tone, it might just be a polite remark. Context also matters. If a man consistently engages in conversation, remembers small details, and finds ways to continue interactions, he is communicating interest, even if he never directly says, "I like you." This is why focusing solely on explicit verbal declarations can lead to misinterpretation. Understanding the broader context of communication, both verbal and nonverbal, is essential in determining what a man truly means. It is also worth noting that some men struggle with verbal expression not because they are uninterested, but because they have never developed the skill of articulating emotions. This is especially true for men who have been raised in environments where emotional openness was discouraged. For these men, words may not be the primary way they communicate attraction. Instead, they may express interest through acts of service, consistency, or physical presence. This is why it is important to pay attention to patterns rather than isolated statements. A man might not say, "I miss you," but if he consistently checks in, finds reasons to see you, and maintains communication even when busy, he is communicating the same sentiment through action. Similarly, a man who frequently compliments intelligence, humor, or character rather than just physical appearance is signaling a deeper level of attraction, one that extends beyond the superficial. At the core of male communication lies the concept of implication. The things left unsaid are often just as important as the things that are spoken. This is not to say that men never express emotions directly. Many do, particularly in long-term relationships where emotional trust has been built. However, in the early stages of attraction and dating, implication plays a crucial role. Understanding this aspect of male psychology allows for better communication and reduces misunderstandings. Instead of expecting direct verbal confirmations, one must learn to recognize the subtle indicators of interest, both in words and actions. When a man wants someone, he will make it known, but he will often do so in ways that require interpretation. By learning to read between the lines, one can gain a clearer understanding of his true intentions. Desire and responsibility are deeply interconnected when it comes to male attraction. This connection is not always obvious, but it is fundamental to understanding how men approach relationships. A man's attraction is not merely a fleeting feeling or a momentary infatuation. It is tied to his sense of purpose, his perception of the future, and his ability to take responsibility for both himself and those he cares about. At a biological level, men are wired to seek both challenge and meaning. While physical attraction may spark initial interest, true desire is sustained by something far deeper, the belief that the relationship aligns with his personal growth and responsibility. This is why men who are serious about relationships often express interest in ways that go beyond mere romantic words or gestures. They think about the long-term implications of commitment, stability, and what it means to provide for and protect the people they care about. When a man says he wants to take things slow, it is easy to misinterpret this as hesitation or lack of interest. However, for many men, it is the opposite. It is a sign that they are approaching the relationship with caution because they see potential in it. They understand, either consciously or unconsciously, that rushing into something without a solid foundation often leads to problems down the road. A man who wants a serious, meaningful connection will want to ensure that it is built on trust, compatibility, and shared values rather than just temporary excitement. This cautious approach is often misunderstood, especially in a world where fast-paced dating and instant gratification are common. But a man who is thinking long-term is not looking for a quick emotional high. He is evaluating how a relationship fits into his life's broader framework. Men who take relationships seriously do not enter them lightly because they know that commitment comes with responsibility. A serious relationship requires time, effort, and the willingness to be accountable for another person's well-being in various ways, emotionally, mentally, and sometimes even physically. This idea of responsibility is crucial because it defines how men navigate relationships. Men often tie their self-worth to their ability to take care of those they love. Whether it is financial stability, emotional support, or simply being reliable, responsibility is at the heart of how many men express love and commitment. This is why a man who is genuinely invested in someone will not rush into something just because it feels good in the moment. Instead, he will take a measured approach, ensuring that his emotions and responsibilities are aligned before fully committing. For men, relationships are not just about attraction, they are about purpose. A man who is serious about someone will consider how that person fits into his life's trajectory. He will ask himself whether the relationship will help him grow, whether he can fulfill his responsibilities within it, and whether it aligns with his values and long-term goals. This is why men who are goal-oriented or career-driven often approach relationships with a level of careful calculation. They are not simply looking for excitement, they are looking for a partner who complements their sense of duty and ambition. This is also why men often hesitate to express deep emotions too quickly. While women may interpret emotional openness as a sign of honesty and vulnerability, men may see it differently. For them, revealing deep emotions too soon can feel like a risk because once they are emotionally invested, they feel responsible for the relationship's outcome. If a man truly cares about someone, he does not want to make promises he cannot keep or create expectations he is not ready to fulfill. Instead, he will take his time to assess whether he can fully commit in a way that aligns with his values. When a man takes responsibility for a relationship, his behavior reflects it. He does not just say he cares, he proves it through actions. He makes time despite a busy schedule. He follows through on promises, and he ensures that his words align with his behavior. This is because responsibility is not just about providing financial support or being physically present. It is about emotional integrity. A man who is serious about someone does not play games or act inconsistently. His actions are deliberate, and his commitment is something he takes seriously. This is also why men often feel pressure in relationships. The idea of responsibility is deeply ingrained in male psychology, and with responsibility comes the fear of failure. A man who sees a potential future with someone will want to be sure that he can uphold his role within that relationship. If he is unsure about his ability to be a good partner, whether due to financial concerns, personal struggles, or unresolved issues from the past, he may hesitate before fully committing. This hesitation is not necessarily a sign of a lack of interest. Rather, it is a sign that he respects the weight of the relationship and wants to ensure he can meet the expectations that come with it. The connection between desire and responsibility is also evident in the way men choose partners. A man who is looking for something serious will not just be drawn to someone based on physical attraction alone. He will look for qualities that align with his sense of responsibility, loyalty, emotional intelligence, and the ability to build a life together. This is why men who are serious about commitment often express admiration for qualities like independence, emotional stability, and shared goals, rather than just surface-level traits. Conversely, a man who does not feel a sense of responsibility toward a relationship may still express attraction, but his behavior will lack consistency. He may say the right words, but his actions will not reflect long-term investment. This is why understanding the difference between words and responsibility-driven actions is crucial. A man who truly wants someone will not just express desire, he will show through his behavior that he is willing to take responsibility for the relationship. Ultimately, men do not separate attraction from responsibility. If they truly desire someone in a meaningful way, they will consider how that relationship fits into their broader sense of purpose. They will evaluate whether they can commit in a way that aligns with their values and responsibilities. And if they see real potential, they will take the necessary steps to ensure that the relationship is built on a foundation of trust, stability, and long-term compatibility. When it comes to understanding how men express desire, one of the most crucial aspects to consider is the way they align their words with their actions. Unlike women, who often communicate emotions through verbal expression, men tend to rely on actions as their primary mode of demonstrating interest. This is not accidental, nor is it simply a cultural phenomenon. It is deeply ingrained in male psychology and has evolutionary roots. Men have historically been valued for their ability to take action, to solve problems, and to demonstrate capability, rather than simply talking about it. In early human societies, a man's ability to provide, protect, and contribute to the survival of the group was more important than his ability to express emotions verbally. Over time, this has shaped male communication patterns, making actions a more reliable indicator of a man's true intentions than words alone. This is why a man who genuinely wants someone will not just say things that sound appealing. He will reinforce his words through behavior. He will take initiative, be present, and demonstrate his interest through consistent effort. Conversely, a man who is not truly invested may still say the right things, but will fail to back them up with meaningful actions. This discrepancy between words and actions is one of the most important signals when it comes to understanding a man's level of interest. When a man is genuinely interested in someone, he will make an effort to integrate that person into his life. He will prioritize spending time with them not just when it is convenient, but because he genuinely wants to be around them. This does not mean that he will always have endless free time. Many men are deeply focused on their careers, personal development, and other responsibilities. But it does mean that he will create time even when he is busy. If a man consistently finds ways to spend time with someone, even when his schedule is demanding, that is a strong indication that he values the relationship. Beyond just making time, a man's actions will reflect his level of investment in the relationship. He will remember small details, make thoughtful gestures, and take steps to ensure the other person feels valued. This does not necessarily mean grand romantic gestures, although those can certainly be part of it, but rather a pattern of consistent, meaningful actions that demonstrate care. A man who genuinely wants someone will show up when it matters, follow through on his commitments, and prove through his actions that his words are not empty. Another key indicator of genuine interest is reliability. A man who truly values a relationship will be dependable. He will not make vague plans or frequently cancel at the last minute. If he says he will do something, he follows through. This is because men understand, either consciously or unconsciously, that reliability is a cornerstone of trust. If a man is inconsistent, if his words and actions do not align, it is often a sign that he is not fully invested. The way a man reacts to challenges and difficulties is another revealing factor. Every relationship, even in its early stages, will encounter some form of difficulty, whether it is a scheduling conflict, a disagreement, or an external stressor. A man who is genuinely interested will work through these challenges rather than using them as an excuse to withdraw. He will seek solutions rather than avoiding the issue. This is because men who take relationships seriously see them as something to invest in and protect, not something that is disposable. This principle also applies to the way a man expresses emotional support. While men may not always verbalize their emotions in the same way women do, they will demonstrate care through actions. A man who is truly interested in someone will be there in times of difficulty, offering practical support rather than just words of encouragement. He may not always know the perfect thing to say, but he will show his concern by doing what he can to make things easier. Men also demonstrate interest through a willingness to introduce their partner to their social circle. A man who is serious about someone will want to integrate them into his life, including his friendships and family relationships. This is because men, particularly those who value long-term relationships, see social integration as an important step. If a man keeps a relationship completely separate from the rest of his life, it may indicate that he does not see it as a lasting commitment. Another key factor to observe is whether a man takes responsibility for the relationship's direction. If he is invested, he will not leave everything up to the other person. He will take initiative in planning, making decisions, and ensuring that the relationship is moving forward. This does not mean he has to control everything, but rather that he takes an active role in maintaining and strengthening the connection. A man who is passive or indifferent about the progression of the relationship may not be as committed as his words suggest. The importance of aligning words with actions cannot be overstated. Many misunderstandings in relationships arise when people focus solely on what is said rather than looking at the broader pattern of behavior. A man who says all the right things but does not follow through is often not truly invested. On the other hand, a man who may not always have the perfect words but consistently demonstrates care through his actions is showing real commitment. Ultimately, men express attraction and love not just through words, but through presence, effort, and reliability. A man who truly wants someone will prove it not through grand declarations alone, but through a steady pattern of meaningful actions that reinforce his words. Understanding this distinction allows for a clearer and more accurate perception of a man's. Men approach relationships with a strong sense of purpose, whether they realize it consciously or not. Unlike the common stereotype that men are emotionally detached or avoidant, the reality is that they often filter their decisions through a framework of meaning and long-term trajectory. When a man is genuinely interested in someone, his communication is not just about the present moment. It is about assessing whether this relationship aligns with his larger sense of direction in life. This is why men who are serious about relationships often use language that hints at the future. They may not explicitly say, "I see myself with you long term," but they will drop clues that indicate they are thinking beyond the immediate attraction. A man might say something as simple as, "I think you'd love this place I visited last year," or "We should go there together sometime." These are not random comments. They are subtle signals that he is envisioning shared experiences in the future. Unlike casual attraction, which is often based on impulse and short-term excitement, real interest from a man involves a process of mental evaluation. Men often assess relationships through a practical lens, considering factors such as compatibility, shared values, and the role the relationship will play in their broader life goals. If a man is in a phase where he is focused on his career, financial stability, or personal development, he will naturally filter romantic involvement through those priorities. This is why timing plays such a significant role in how men express interest. A man might deeply care for someone, but if he feels that a serious relationship does not align with his current responsibilities or ambitions, he may hesitate. This hesitation is often misunderstood as a lack of interest, when, in reality, it stems from an internal Unlike the common belief that men fear commitment, the truth is that many men fear committing prematurely only to find themselves unable to uphold the expectations that come with a serious relationship. A man who sees long-term potential with someone will also begin incorporating them into his daily thoughts and decisions. He might start asking for opinions on things that matter to him, not just out of politeness, but because he genuinely values that perspective. A simple question like, "What do you think about this?" is more than just conversation. It is an indicator that he is considering how the other person fits into his worldview. Men also express long-term interest by adjusting their behavior in ways that reflect stability. If a man is serious about someone, he will begin making decisions that prioritize the relationship rather than just his own individual desires. This does not mean he will lose his independence, but rather that he will factor the other person into his planning. He may choose stability over recklessness, consistency over spontaneity, and thoughtfulness over immediate gratification. This is particularly evident in the way a man talks about relationships in general. If he frequently discusses the importance of loyalty, commitment, or personal growth, it is a sign that he values those things and will likely seek them in a partner. Conversely, if a man consistently avoids conversations about the future or treats relationships as purely casual experiences, it may indicate that he is not yet in a place where he is thinking long-term. A man's willingness to invest time and effort is another major indicator of how seriously he takes a relationship. Unlike surface-level attraction, which may come and go, long-term interest requires ongoing effort. A man who is thinking about the future will not just be available when it is convenient for him. He will make a conscious effort to nurture the relationship. This can be seen in the way he listens, remembers small details, and makes adjustments to accommodate the needs of his partner. One of the clearest signs that a man is viewing a relationship in a long-term context is his reaction to difficulties. Every relationship faces challenges, whether they are external pressures like work stress or internal conflicts that arise between two people. A man who is only interested in the short term will look for an easy exit when things become difficult. However, a man who sees potential will engage in problem solving, communication, and compromise. He will treat difficulties as obstacles to overcome rather than as excuses to walk away. This is also why men who are serious about relationships take their time in making significant commitments. While it may seem frustrating to some, a man who is thinking long-term will often move more slowly in the early stages. He is not avoiding commitment. He is ensuring that when he does commit, it is based on a solid foundation rather than fleeting emotions. This careful approach is often mistaken for indifference, but in reality, it is an indication that he values the relationship enough to approach it with intention. Men also express long-term interest through the way they integrate a partner into their broader life. If a man begins introducing someone to his closest friends, family, or professional network, it is a strong signal that he sees the relationship as more than just a temporary connection. Men do not make these introductions lightly, especially if they are highly protective of their personal and professional relationships. There is also a strong psychological component to how men express future-oriented interest. Unlike short-term attraction, which is often driven by physical or emotional chemistry, long-term desire is deeply tied to respect and admiration. A man who is serious about a relationship will not just admire external traits. He will respect the person's character, intelligence, and values. He will take the time to understand their aspirations, support their goals, and encourage their growth. This is why a man's language often shifts when he is thinking long-term. He may begin using words like we instead of I, subtly signaling that he is thinking about the relationship in terms of partnership rather than individuality. He may start discussing personal goals in a way that includes the other person, not necessarily in grand declarations, but in small, meaningful ways that indicate he is considering a shared path forward. Ultimately, men are not as emotionally disconnected as they are often portrayed. When a man is genuinely interested in someone, he expresses it in ways that go beyond surface-level attraction. He will integrate that person into his life, adjust his behavior to reflect stability, and demonstrate a clear sense of responsibility for the relationship's future. Understanding this perspective allows for a deeper appreciation of how men approach commitment, not as an impulsive decision, but as a deliberate and meaningful step toward building something lasting. A network error occurred. Please check your connection and try again. If this issue persists, please contact us through our help center at help@openai.com. Men often communicate their feelings and intentions differently from women, relying more on actions, indirect language, and behavioral cues rather than overt emotional expressions. This is not because men are incapable of deep emotional expression, but because historically and psychologically they have been conditioned to value strength, independence, and problem-solving over vulnerability. When a man truly wants someone, he may not always articulate it in explicit terms, but his behavior and subtle verbal cues will reveal his deeper intentions. Understanding these unspoken signals is crucial in deciphering a man's level of commitment and emotional investment. One of the most significant ways a man expresses deep interest is through consistency. Unlike casual attraction, which may manifest as sporadic attention or fluctuating engagement, real interest is marked by steady and intentional effort. A man who genuinely desires someone will ensure his presence is felt, whether through regular communication, prioritizing time together, or making meaningful gestures that demonstrate he is thinking about the other person even when they are apart. This is not merely a routine. It is an indicator that he values the connection and is willing to invest in its growth. Another key aspect of male communication in relationships is the way men express care through practical actions rather than just words. While women may often seek verbal affirmation, men tend to show love and commitment by doing things that demonstrate reliability and support. This could be as simple as offering help with a difficult task, remembering and acting on small details that matter, or ensuring that the other person feels safe and supported. To a man, these actions often speak louder than words, as they align with his intrinsic need to provide and protect. Subtle linguistic patterns also reveal a man's level of emotional attachment. When a man is serious about someone, his language will naturally shift from an individual perspective to a shared one. He may begin using words like we instead of I, signaling a subconscious integration of the other person into his life. He might also discuss plans that extend beyond the immediate present, such as mentioning future activities, travel, or long-term aspirations that subtly include his partner. These are not accidental slips. They are psychological indicators that he is thinking in terms of partnership rather than temporary companionship. A man who truly values a relationship will also exhibit a heightened level of attentiveness, unlike fleeting interest, which may focus primarily on physical attraction or short-term gratification. Deep desire is marked by an effort to understand the other person on a deeper level. He will ask meaningful questions, remember significant conversations, and seek to understand what makes his partner happy, frustrated, or inspired. This is because, for men, emotional investment is often tied to problem solving. When they care about someone, they want to understand how they can contribute to that person's well-being and success. Additionally, a man's willingness to be vulnerable is a crucial sign of genuine desire. While men are often taught to suppress emotional expression, they will lower these defenses when they feel truly connected to someone. This does not necessarily mean they will always articulate deep emotions verbally, but they may share personal stories, fears, or ambitions that they do not easily disclose to others. A man who allows someone into his inner world is demonstrating a level of trust that goes beyond surface-level attraction. Another strong indicator of serious interest is how a man navigates conflict within a relationship. Attraction alone is easy. It is how someone responds when things become difficult that reveals their true level of investment. A man who is only interested in a casual relationship will often avoid confrontation or disengage when faced with difficulties. However, a man who truly wants someone will be willing to work through disagreements, find solutions, and engage in meaningful dialogue to strengthen the relationship. His focus will not be on proving himself right, but on preserving and improving the connection. Men also express their commitment through a desire to integrate their partner into different aspects of their lives. If a man is serious about someone, he will naturally begin introducing them to his close friends, family, or even colleagues. This is not merely a formality, it is an indication that he sees the relationship as significant and wants it to be recognized within his broader social framework. That is, the whole of the people significant, and wants it to be recognized within his broader social framework. Men do not take this step lightly, as their social and professional reputations are often important to them. Introducing a partner to the people who matter most in their life is a symbolic way of demonstrating long-term intention. Another behavioral pattern that reveals true interest is a man's ability to prioritize. While everyone has responsibilities and obligations, a man who truly desires someone will find ways to incorporate that person into his life, even amidst a busy schedule. This does not mean he will disregard his ambitions or neglect other responsibilities, but he will make a conscious effort to create time and ensure that his actions reflect his stated feelings. If a man consistently makes time despite challenges, it is a strong indicator of serious emotional investment. Moreover, the way a man speaks about relationships in general can provide insight into his mindset. If he often discusses values like loyalty, partnership, and emotional growth, it suggests that he places a high priority on meaningful connections. Conversely, if his conversations frequently emphasize independence, reluctance toward commitment, or a cynical view of relationships, it may indicate that he is not in a phase of life where he is ready to deeply invest in someone. Understanding male communication requires looking beyond surface-level expressions and observing the broader patterns of behavior. A man who truly wants someone will not rely solely on words. He will demonstrate his intentions through consistency, effort, and a willingness to integrate the relationship into the core aspects of his life. He will show reliability, engage in meaningful dialogue, and take responsibility for ensuring that the relationship flourishes. Ultimately, a man's true intentions are revealed not in grand declarations, but in the small, consistent actions that accumulate over time. These actions create a sense of security, trust, and emotional depth that cannot be faked or manufactured. When a man genuinely desires someone, his behavior will naturally reflect his commitment, even in the absence of overt emotional expressions. Recognizing these signals allows for a deeper understanding of how men navigate relationships, revealing the profound ways in which they express love, desire, and devotion. Understanding the way men communicate their desire and commitment requires looking beyond mere words and observing the patterns of their behavior. Unlike the stereotypical assumption that men are emotionally distant or avoidant, the truth is that they express interest in deeply intentional ways through consistency, reliability, and meaningful action. A man who truly wants someone will not rely on empty promises or superficial attraction. He will show his commitment by aligning his words with his actions, demonstrating care through practical gestures, and prioritizing the relationship even in the face of challenges. His language will subtly shift from individuality to partnership. His behavior will reflect long-term thinking, and he will willingly integrate his partner into his life. While men may not always express emotions in the same way women do, their desire is revealed in how they invest time, make sacrifices, and provide emotional and practical support. They will seek to understand their partner, navigate difficulties rather than avoiding them, and remain present when it matters most. Ultimately, the key to understanding a man's true intentions is not found in what he says in moments of passion, but in how he consistently shows up over time. If his actions reinforce his words, if he is reliable and thoughtful, if he makes an effort to build something meaningful, these are the strongest indicators that he genuinely desires and values the relationship. True interest is never just spoken, it is proven through unwavering commitment, effort, and emotional presence.